Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this planning meeting of the Melton Borough Council. I am Councillor Alan Thwaites, Chair of Planning. Just to go through some housekeeping. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park, nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist anyone who needs any assistance. Please put your phone to silent during this meeting. We will be using the audio-visual system this evening, and the meeting will also be streamed live on YouTube. Members speaking, please raise your hands if you wish to speak and speak directly into the microphone in front of you. Please remember to turn it off once you're finished. Members voting will be by raised hands. I'd like to introduce those present. The members this evening are, to my right, Councillor Siggy Atherton and Councillor Marilyn Gordon. To my left, Councillor Margaret Glancy, Councillor Sharon Butcher, who's the substitute for Councillor Cumbers, Councillor Pritchett. To my left, we have the Senior Solicitor, Tom Pickwell. To my right, we have the Director for Planning, Sarah Legg, Senior Planning Officer, Richard Redford, Planning Officer, Sarah Matthews. We also have our Democratic Services team present, assisting with the technology and taking the minutes. This is Adam Green and Sarah Evans. First of all, the apologies for absence. We have apologies from councillors Pip Olnut, Ian Hatherton, Ronan Brown, Pat Cumbers and James Mason. And we've just received apologies for Councillor Lee Higgins. As I mentioned, Councillor Sharon Butcher has been appointed the substitute for Councillor Cumbers. And Mike Brown, who is missing at the moment, was appointed as substitute for Councillor Mason. So if he turns up in the next 2 minutes, they'll be able to use him. So the next item on the agenda is the minutes for the meeting held on the 14th of September, 2023. Has anybody got any comments on the minutes, or do I have a proposer to accept the minutes? Yeah.
Happy to propose them.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Butcher, thank you. Declarations of interest. Members to declare any interest as appropriate in respect of the items to be considered this evening. Any items? No, we'll take that as none.
Yes, that is my understanding, actually. So.
My apologies. Would somebody that was at that meeting like to sing in it? Yeah, Marilyn. Marilyn will second the minutes. Thank you very much, Marilyn. Yeah. Oh, so we need to take a vote on that as well. Can we take a vote on to accept the minutes? It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for the reminding. So we have only one application this evening, and that's the application 22/00028/COU, the field in Gadsby Lane, Barsby. We have 2 speakers this evening, and oh, sorry, no. we need to find out about it first, don't we? My apologies. I'm trying to speed the meeting. Sarah, I think you're going to explain the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, members. This application relates to a parcel of land which forms part of a larger agricultural unit located within an open countryside to the west of the highway on Gadsby Lane. The village of Barsby is approximately 150 metres to the south of the site. The nearest neighbour to the north is approximately 300 metres. Adjacent land uses are both agricultural and equestrian. The application is presented to the committee due to the number of objections received. Clarification was provided at the committee briefing that the closest neighbour to the north of the site is approximately 300 metres and not 900 metres as indicated in the report at paragraph 2.1. The current slide on the screen is an aerial image of the site. It will be noted the agricultural building, which is the subject of the application, was not constructed at this point. However, the earth bund is visible. To the southeast corner is a gated access which runs parallel to the southern boundary until almost level with the earth bund. The track then cuts across the land to the south, terminating when it reaches the area of hard standing in front of the 3 existing agricultural buildings. Next slide, please. The proposal comprises of 3 elements. The first relating to the change of use of the existing agricultural building to allow for the housing of livestock. The drawings on screen now show the existing building with some proposed minor changes to enable the change of use to house cattle. The changes include a ridge ventilation system and changing the sliding doors to allow for the housing of livestock. The building was constructed in 2021 in accordance with permitted development. Next slide, please. Secondly, the proposal is to widen the existing access. A previous application in 2008 approved the widening of the existing access. However, this scheme was not implemented. The current proposal involves the removal of a small proportion of hedgerow, and by way of mitigation, it is proposed to plant native hedgerow along part of the access track within the site, as detailed on the submitted landscaping plan, which you can now see on site, on the screen. The Highway Authority have no objection to the widening of the access, subject to conditions. Their advice is summarised at 7.1 to 7.4 of the report. The third part of the application is retrospective and relates to the retention of an earth bund to the east of the agricultural buildings at the site. This bund was formed as part of groundworks within the site in relation to the construction of the building, which is the subject of the current application. The bund is currently partially grassed, but provision for additional seeding is detailed on the landscaping plan, which is secured by condition. This is to ensure that the bund better relates to the countryside location. Tree planting and hedgerow planting is incorporated into the landscaping plan along the initial part of the access track to the point at which it reaches the bund. Once established, it will provide additional screening of the bund when viewed from the highway at the point of access to the site. Next slide, please. For clarification and following questions raised during the committee briefing, an extract has been included from Gadsby Neighbourhood Plan in relation to View 7. The image on screen shows the public right-of-way in relation to View 7 from the footpath towards the bund and buildings within the site. Next slide, please. This image shows the location of the public footpath in relation to the site. You can see the public footpath is in yellow, running roughly northwest to southeast, travelling south from Barsby. The footpath is to the left of the screen. The picture in the committee report at page 18 was taken in the location marked on this map with the blue arrow. The distance from the public footpath to the gate is 136 metres, and the bund is a further 139 metres beyond the gate. Next slide, please. The first picture on the left of the screen was taken moving closer to the gate from the position shown on the previous slide and looks towards the bund and the site access. The second picture on the right of the screen was taken from the existing access track adjacent and to the south of the building looking towards the bund. Next slide, please. This slide shows a further picture taken towards the site from the public footpath as shown on screen. The picture was taken facing in a northeast direction further south along the public footpath. Next slide, please. This slide shows another picture taken from a slightly further south position along the public footpath as shown on the map. Next slide, please. To conclude, there have been no objections received from the Highways Authority, Ecology and Forestry at the County Council. The proposal is considered to comply with the relevant policies of the local plan and the Gadsby Neighbourhood Plan as set out in the report and the conclusion within the application is therefore recommended for approval, subject to conditions as set out in section 10 of that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Do we have any questions for clarification from the officers at all? No further questions? No? Thank you very much. In that case, then we'll move on to the speakers this evening. And the first one, I believe, is Councillor Andy Pickering from the Gadsby Parish Council. And if you'd like to please come up. Thank you very much and welcome this evening. Yeah. I saw you getting instructions from Bob earlier on how to use the microphones. Yeah. Okay, so you have 3 minutes to talk, but then we'll have a chance to ask any questions afterwards. So please remain. Tom will give you a warning at 30 seconds from the end of the 3 minutes. So when you're ready, please just turn the microphone on and please talk. Thank you very much.
We have no objection to the existing farm building having a change of use to a cattle building, providing that the advised ventilation modifications are made and that a satisfactory waste and storm water control removal procedure is implemented for the initial number of beasts advised and that the head numbers are not exceeded. We strongly object to the retention of the bund. It appears that the bund has been constructed as a perceived cost-effective way to dispose of the hundreds of tons of soil generated during the construction work on site. The bund sits in important view 7 as detailed in the neighbourhood plan. Serious maintenance concerns arise from the bund if the bund was to remain. Measuring 87 metres long by 14 metres deep and 4 metres high, due to the incline, it would be very difficult to cut and remove any excessive vegetation growth. Why should this perceived cost-saving measure take precedence over the neighbourhood plan and important view 7? It should be removed and replaced with indigenous trees and shrubs. In relation to the proposed access, we oppose the construction of an 18-metre wide access point. In its initial approval, 23rd of May 22, the LHA stated that it would expect to see a 6-metre wide access point in accordance with figure DG23 of Part 3 of the Leicestershire Highway Design Guide. The extensive widening of this entrance is far beyond what is required by the LHA. There are 10 agricultural gateways along Gadsby Lane, with the largest, a neighbouring cattle farm, currently measuring 13 metres. To have this gateway significantly wider will be totally out of character and impact on the tree line approach to the village. Please note that the maximum shed occupancy has never been advised or submitted. So therefore, for the LHA to have been able to calculate in any way the actual site and road vehicle movements necessitating an access point of this size. The proposed access has been described as a resubmission and should be treated as such. This was first submitted and approved back in 2008, not completed. The permission therefore lapsed. The fact that it was previously been approved should not have any bearing on this application, as the planning framework has changed substantially since 2008, including the provision for the neighbourhood plan, which is a real legal weight and directs development in the local area. The cumulative impact of the works, the bund and the alterations to the access would have a detrimental impact on the character and appearance of the rural setting, and this would change the character of the site form from rural to industrial in character and contravenes the neighbourhood plan. We would also like to draw your attention to the document of objection from Mr. O'Morris that has been circulated to the planning committee that states in great detail that the neighbourhood plan does not support the application. We also
Thank
know
you very much.
there was one image that was incorrect on that slide.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Please stay seated.
Yeah.
In that case, I mean, I'll ask the first question. What was it? Which image and what was incorrect?
It was the slides of the view of the site. One, I think you said, was from the road looking at the bund. It's got a gateway on it. The track that goes down to it.
Yes,
Yeah, that slide there, that wasn't, as far as I'm aware, and I live in the village and I walk that road every day. That is not the entrance to the track because it's got gravel and stone down in front of it,
It's-
and you can
it's-
actually see the road.
it's from inside the site towards the building with the bund behind.
Right,
Can we put the slide back up again?
Yes. That's taken from the track towards the building with the bund in the background. It's the track within the site. Yes,
So are we talking about the one on the left-hand side, the photo on the left-hand side? So that was actually taken from the Sarah walked the public footpath. The photo that's at page 18 of the committee report there, and then walked towards that gate. So from the public footpath towards the site. And that's that same gate that you see on page, no, it's not on the road. The one on the right-hand side of that screen is from inside the site on the track that's inside the site and leading up to the agricultural barn.
Is that okay? Do you understand that now? Okay, is there any other questions from the members that would like to ask? Councillor Pritchett?
Thank you very much. Important view 7, and it's probably me that's got a bit confused here. When I read it in the neighbourhood plan, it read to me that it was the footpath coming out of Gadsby across the valley with the brook in the bottom. Is that correct?
it's the one that goes from Barsby through the farmyard and then down the back of where the site is.
But isn't the view from over further near Gadsby looking into the dip, and so that the actual building under planning application now is further away?
We thought that view 7 was, or I thought the view 7 was from the where it goes across the back.
Yeah, but
Of
yeah,
fields.
quite a way back. But I think that's one of the issues with the neighbourhood plan. There's one photograph, the 3 arrows, and where in the appendix, and when you go to the main body,
Yeah.
The arrows are going 3 ways, and it reads as if it's across the brook. So you're looking from Gadsby way across the brook, which
No.
would put this the further away. Okay, so the second question is then,
Yeah.
what is the bund stopping you seeing? What is it? What is it impairing?
If you're looking from the back of the site, it's stopping you looking across over towards Ashby Foleville.
Yeah, but you've then got the 2 hedges across the road, haven't you, and the trees?
Yes, but
And,
if the hedgerows are cut to the normal height, then you can see across to Ashby Foleville.
and then doesn't the land fall away the other side? Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
so it falls away downhill, and that must mitigate then that there's not much. I'm trying to understand how it's an important view. So all in all,
Well, it was put into the neighbourhood plan. I didn't obviously write the neighbourhood plan.
Yeah.
But it's been in there and it's been flagged at every meeting and in the objections from the council or parish council all the way through.
thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, and I'll just ask one question from something you said earlier. You mentioned the width of the gate is 18 meters.
The entrance, yes.
The entrance.
Yes.
Yeah, but you say there's another one on the same road that's 13
Next door to
meters.
it, that's 13 meters. Yeah, the entrance that's cut into it. Yeah.
What is the main objection to the width? Is it just the view, the site?
It's the aesthetics. When you take into account the widening of the entrance and the bund and that building, it makes it look as an industrial. unit. Every other entrance down there is a narrow entrance going into, you know, a standard size farm gate, the 12 or the 14-foot farm gate. And the farm next door that's got cattle in it, they get vehicles in and out okay with that sort of width.
Open question to whether it's the officers or yourself, because unfortunately we don't have the applicant speaking this evening. But
Yeah.
do we have any idea why they want a gate of 18 metres?
I believe from conversations with the agent for the applicant, Gadsby Lane is quite a narrow road, and it's to allow for sufficient turning into the site.
So, but all of the other units, like next door where he's got a cattle barn and everything, and the one next door which has got a compound as well, they'll get away with getting farm vehicles in their lorries, cattle transport lorries in there with no problem whatsoever.
Okay, thank you very much for that. If there's no more questions, thank you very much for your time, and
Thank
thank you. In that case, then I'd then like to call the next speaker, which is Councillor Robert Child, the ward councillor. We'll also be talking against the application. Good evening, Bob. I'm sure I've got no need to give you any instructions on how to use the microphone. Welcome this evening, and when you're ready, normal process, you have 3 minutes. Tom will give you a warning at 30 seconds, and then the time for any questions afterwards. Thanks very much.
Evening, everybody. Gadsby Parish Council and myself are particularly concerned about the Earthbund, which is unsightly and does not have planning permission. It is visible not only from Gadsby Lane, but also from the public footpath from Gadsby Lane, from the public footpath between Barsby and Gadsby. Furthermore, it substantially interferes with the important View 7, as we've heard, of the adopted Gadsby neighbourhood plan. This section in the neighbourhood plan should be considered, and I quote, "It is national and local planning policy that development in open countryside should be carefully controlled. Recognising the intrinsic character and beauty of the countryside is identified as an important principle in NPPF, paragraph 170B, which is supported by the neighbourhood plan. The sheer scale of the proposed scheme directly contradicts with this plan, which states proposals should also demonstrate consideration of height, scale and massing to ensure that new development delivers a positive contribution to the street scene and adds value to the distinctive character of the area. The bunds do not support the special landscape and character of the village that the parish are looking to protect. This character should also be considered when assessing the proposed widening of the access. The proposed size of this is more akin to an industrial park with an 18-metre splay rather than the rural unclassified road that the site is situated on. Regarding the design of developments, the plan states the biggest challenge facing the future of the parish is to balance the desire to protect the character of each village with the need for them to grow and evolve in a sensitive and proportionate manner to justify the community and its facility. Looking at the comments and objections, no one denies the need for the village to grow or has any issue with the shed being housed to used to house cattle once suitable adaptations have been made. However, the 87-metre long, 14-metre wide, 4-metre high bunds are not sensitive to the local character
of the landscapes or the views that open up through gateways in the hedges across the valley from local footpaths. Therefore, the bund cannot be considered sensitive and proportionate, and the application should be refused. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and perfect timing. So, so I'd like to open up any questions for the speaker. No further questions for clarification? No, I'll just ask the one then. So I think the previous speaker mentioned it as well, the bund being the major objection to this application.
That's right. Yeah.
And what they're looking for is either hedges or trees in place of the bund. Was that, am I correct in?
I believe beech trees are proposed on the site.
Can I ask the planning officer what was?
The initial proposal included beech trees to be planted on the bund. They were planted when the application came in. However, they failed. They've been removed and they were considered not to be appropriate. It would just exacerbate the amount, and it was agreed that grass seeding would be a better option.
There's nothing, as far as I know, that's been proposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if there's no further questions for clarification, thank you very much. Thanks very much. So we have a proposal to accept the application. Do we have any comments or people would like to make to debate?
Yeah, I was wondering if it could be deferred, because I would like to see, because of the applicant isn't here tonight, it would be great if we could ask the applicant, because of all the unrest with the residents in the area to do with the bunds, that if he can at least half them, if he can't get rid of all of them, if he could sort of half them down, get rid of half of it. It will lessen the, it will lessen the impact.
Tom, did you want to?
Yep. So members, you've got to make a decision on what's in front of you. So this application, we can't force anybody to attend in any event. So we would only suggest deferment if it was to find out more information that you needed to make that decision, not to try and get something extra.
Any other members for debate? No. In that case, oh, sorry, Councillor Pritchett.
I'm just checking the neighbourhood plan for the point of the view. Do we know when the neighbourhood plan was completed? I'm sure. I'm interested in relation to the buildings. Was it passed after the building was there, or before?
I need to just check the exact date on
Because
when it was made.
It would seem, yeah.
But the referendum was undertaken in March 2021. So it would have been made at a point after that.
Right. So
So I can go and check that.
the existing building was there at the time that was finished. So that would have been in Important View 7, would it, at the time?
No, the building was constructed after the local plan was made. Sorry,
Right.
neighbourhood plan.
Right. So the question is, how did that get built in the middle of an Important View?
It's permitted development, and that
Right.
doesn't take into account it's whether it meets the criteria to be considered.
Farm building.
Yes.
So what's at issue now is the bit of the bund that's sticking out, right? And what will remain of that bund when the new building goes up? What would be left for you to see when you're on the footpath looking back?
The building's already in situ.
you know, the new building, will any of the new building obscure the existing visibility of the bund?
Sorry, there is no new building. The building is existing. It's a change of
It's
use of the
it's
existing
just the
building.
change, so that would be there. Right. I do have some. I've got some empathy with the width of the gate in such a rural location. And I don't know what the highways have said about the minimum width and splay. You know, your cattle lorries coming in, and yes, they do need to see, but I've got some understanding in that location of, you know, 18 meters is quoted as quite wide.
Yeah, I've got the plan here, Councillor Pritchett. So the gate isn't 18 metres wide. That's the entire width of the mouth of the access as it goes on to Gadsby Lane. The actual gate is set back by around 11 metres from the highway edge, and the gate width itself is 7.5 metres.
That clears it. Sort of, it's what you would call a necessary splay for large vehicles coming in and out, and so it funnels down to so the hedge isn't being taken out by that, it funnels into the normal. So okay, so I'm then left with this bund, and in the view of an important view. I mean, have you asked the applicant if he could disperse the bund or anything as part of your dealings with him or her?
It has been discussed, but the applicant's not willing to remove the bund. The permission he's seeking is for the retention of the bund.
Has the bund doesn't have planning permission then, or does it need planning permission?
That's the proposal for this evening. Yes. Yes, and yes, it does need planning permission.
Well, I'm a bit concerned with this important view 7, you know, and protecting these views if we're going to give them up quite easily. I do have some concern about that.
Sarah? Yeah.
We can put the slides back up. I've been to the site to observe how it obstructs that view. There are hedgerows, trees that obscure the view. The only part of the bund is the part that I've demonstrated in the photograph, of the part that extends beyond the building. The buildings are more obtrusive to the view.
How many meters are we talking about? Four meters? How many meters? And how many meters remain? What did you say?
Are you referring to the side? Yeah, the length of it.
The one you can't see because the building's not there.
That I've not measured in detail, so I can't.
Would you guess at then?
Yeah, it would be wrong for me to have a guess.
Planning officer would be able to. The other issue, the other issue behind the bund is that is a hedgerow and an avenue of trees that are planted quite close together anyway, that you wouldn't necessarily be able to have a clear view of over the road to wherever as well.
I think that's what Sarah just said, wasn't it? That there's already blockage towards the view. Yeah.
If it helps, the photograph on the screen at the moment to the left, that gateway, I'm standing in the adjacent field, which is closer than the footpath, and the bund is in the background.
View is not an open view. There is a hedge in the way of the footpath and the farm buildings, and then you've got you just walk past that gate, basically, and the farmer could have those hedges at 4 foot or 8 foot.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor,
Reading the bit where the person writes that they will see the bund from their house, from the ground floor and the first floor, I think is more important than if you're going for a walk and you see hedges and trees. But when all you see when you look out of your window is the bund, I think that's a bit more of a concern.
yes, my apologies. I forgot to mention the extra, the added objection that was written that I'm sure everybody's has seen and read. Although, I mean, from my opinion, adding to the debate, you either see the bund or you see the farm building. So I don't see how that changes the view. Please, Sarah.
Thank you. I just wanted to add as well that within planning, there is no right to a view. So the assessment is whether it's an unacceptable impact on amenity or privacy in terms of that being in your view. And the distance from that property, if I recall properly, is about 300 metres. So officers have assessed that it doesn't have an adverse impact on amenity.
Yes, in that case, if there's no more comments, I'd like to look to see if anybody would like to propose to accept the recommendation. Or any motion.
I'm satisfied, Chair, and I'll propose permit.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchett. Anybody? And Councillor Glancy?
Yes, I'll second it. I don't see any real planning reason to refuse this. So I think, yeah, whilst some may not like part of it, we don't have any tangible to latch on to where we can refuse it. So yes, I'm happy to second.
Thank you. In case, and if anybody's got any other things to add to it, therefore I'll take it to the vote to accept the proposal and the recommendation from the officers. Can I have a vote, please? In that case, it is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. And at 6:37, I'll declare this meeting closed. Thanks very much for your attendance.